It has been reported that domestic violence is experienced by a shocking 60% of women in Sri Lanka. Statistics such as these are hard to come by, as many women who have experienced violence of any kind is afraid to speak out against it. In general, violence against women is a topic of conversation that is largely avoided and dismissed. To highlight these issues, the Gender-Based Violence Forum launched a 16-day campaign to seek an end to violence against women in Sri Lanka. It is acknowledged globally and in Sri Lanka that victims of violence are largely women, whether in urban or rural homes, inside buses or trains, in the streets, in places of work and in IDP camps. In Sri Lanka, the most prevalent types of violence against women are rape, domestic violence, sexual harassment, sexual violence, forced prostitution and trafficking. These crimes are not particular to a certain region or locality, but are widespread and occur across class, race, religion and ethnicity. In many cases, these violations are hidden. This is especially true of domestic violence. Violence against women hurts all. Act now, end violence against women. Reads the slogans for the 16-day campaign by the GBV Forum, held from the 25th of November till the 10th of December. On the opening day, numerous NGOs, together with the United Nations and the Centre Against Gender-Based Violence, collectively branded 19 buses with stickers proclaiming the GBV slogan. Over the 16-day period, these stickers will also be pasted inside buses and trishaws. Sri Lankans will also join the worldwide White Ribbon campaign, the largest effort in the world of men's activism against violence against women, by wearing a white ribbon as a personal pledge never to commit, condone or remain silent about violence against women. A media campaign where Sri Lankan men from different fields speak out against gender-based violence will also be launched during this time. I spoke with Bimal Ameresekera from the GBV Forum to find out more about the campaign and what can be done to prevent such acts of violence. How serious an issue is gender-based violence in Sri Lanka?
It's a very serious issue because it is there in every part of Sri Lanka. It is not only in urban areas or in rural areas. It's there in every social class. And mostly it's domestic violence which is actually hidden. It's like, it's a tip of an iceberg. That's all we see. That's only the reported cases. But most of the abuse, the violations go unreported. And it also takes a major effort on the part of the victim or those who may know that this person is experiencing violence in her life to come forward. And mostly it is women. In Sri Lanka, and it's a global statistic, that it's mostly women who are the victims of violence. And in Sri Lanka, it's mostly domestic violence, rape, incest, forced prostitution, sexual harassment in buses, in public places. And those are the most common forms of gender-based violence in Sri Lanka.
Is this problem being addressed adequately by the authorities? If not, how do you think it should be changed?
There has to be a greater strengthening of the ability of state agencies and non-state agencies to actually address concerns, especially when there are victims. And also, there's a very important necessity to put up a shelter, but the nature of that shelter, actually Women in Need has a shelter, but it's anonymous, nobody really knows, and about where it is, and that agency does that work, of addressing concerns of women. But that aspect is very important, for the institution, for an agency to be there to receive complaints, to give legal aid. It has to be strengthened, much greater strengthening, and also much greater access and awareness to those services needs to be there.
What about the women living in the north and east in refugee camps? Are they more vulnerable to violence? How can they be helped?
They are at greater risk because it's very close. The homes are very close by and they are very open spaces. So actually there's access, there's a great access, and also there's no privacy. So there's access for a perpetrator or a person who's looking to rape a person, or there's great access. So there needs to be actually a more thinking into a better form, a gendered approach actually, to see that women get proper access to their services that are required in a way that would be beneficial and not actually harm them or abuse them. And actually settling them in better shelters, not in camps, is very important. I mean, giving that permanency, especially for people who have lost their homes and who have been in camps for several years.
One of the main problems that I know is that people don't come forward with their problems for various reasons. What can be done to convince them to come out with their stories and tell you all?
Actually, it's very difficult to come forward. So if you are experiencing violence in your life, it's actually the person who can't take it anymore, in many cases, who would call the helpline. So there needs to be a greater responsibility in the part of society, especially now when we take public transport. If a woman is being harassed, many people keep quiet. But as a community, as a society, we need to rise up and say that's wrong, stop that, or put that person out of the bus. It shouldn't be tolerated. We can't have tolerance of violence in our homes, in our public places, in our workplaces. There are many people who have they go through sexual harassment at work every day. Those cannot be tolerated. We have to implement policies. We have to adopt policies and implement them.
So you think if there is more awareness, that more women will come forward?
More awareness together with more desks and like the helpline, like agencies like Women in Need, to strengthen agencies like Women in Need greater, to speak to them and to find out, and so that they would be able to cope with the demand. I mean, like this many people who actually call, the callers who come and try to seek advice. So that has to be strengthened in both sides.
As Brecht's play teaches us, sometimes it's useful to take our eyes off the bigger picture and look at the finer print, ourselves as individuals and what we would be willing to sacrifice for others. If you have any comments about the program, please write to us at nowarzone@yartv.net. Thank you for watching. Until next week, you take care.